And welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live here at Citizen Television. My guest today, Chairman of the Board, Kenya Airways, Chairman of the Board, Safaricom. One man, two hats, tough job in any day, despite the COVID. And he's still very optimistic, which I have to give you that for, Michael. Now, in the supplementary budget, you guys got about 28 billion. They allocated 28 billion shillings, right?
Okay, so the supplementary budget has to be passed by Parliament, so it's still in Parliament for approval. So it's 28 billion, I understand the total figure, of which we've received some already in 2020. We got some of that money. It's in the supplementary budget, it still has to be passed. So it depends on Parliament whether we get that money or we don't.
Obviously, it's an unfair question. Is that enough? Or, if you...
It's the absolute minimum that we've asked for, the absolute minimum that we wanted for 2021. Gets us through to about July, August 2021. It's a minimum. That's the maximum we could get, but that's the minimum we could get away with.
Will that stop the bleeding or the hemorrhaging?
At least for a while, yeah. At least for a while. But of course we have to do all the other things as well. But at least it gives us some breather until, as I say, July, August 2021. Remember, this is the supplementary budget, which takes us till June anyway. So then there's a new budget cycle after June again. Yeah. So that's the plan.
Mm-hmm. For someone whose airline is really nosediving, if you will, you seem very optimistic that you can turn the corner, if you will.
Yeah, but you have to understand. Look, if you look at the impact of COVID alone, if you took the impact of COVID away, which we hope will be going away during this year, then definitely there must be hope. I mean, if COVID stayed as it was, or we were grounded once more, then I think there's no hope. That's the thing. I mean, we have to put into account COVID has made a huge impact on many, many businesses, and particularly tourism business, as you know. But if that continues, of course, I will be pessimistic. But I'm optimistic that with vaccination, with Europe opening up, Americas, Asia opening up for passenger traffic, we have some hope. But the jury's still out, because we don't know how long this pandemic will last. It's never going to go away, of course, but we don't know when we'll bring it under control.
When it comes to tourism,
I don't like your headline, by the way.
You don't like
on a wing and a broken wing and a prayer. I mean, this is your national airline. You should have been.
Broken wings and a prayer. Tell me, what should it have been? On a wing and a prayer?
Yes, something like that.
Yeah.
I saw the advert in one of the newspapers that the cartoon also. It's quite. This is your airline. It's not my airline. People should be a little bit more supportive. I mean, of course, it's a big loss, but put it in context. That's the thing. Put it in context. It's not people. People. Should learn it. People who are knowledgeable. People should know better than say this is mismanagement. I mean, how do you manage your way out when you have no passengers, which is your revenue? When you have no revenue. So I think, I'm optimistic that if we can bring this COVID under control through vaccinations and through, better management, a vaccination passport sort of thing, I'm hopeful. We will not get back, as I said many times now, to what we had before for some time. But we've grounded some aircraft. We've gone into more cargo. Two passenger 787s are now going to be cargo. Another one tomorrow, to Friday. Let's see.
When senior counsel Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, they call him the Grand Mullah, says he can't wait to purchase one of your aircraft because this airline is going down. What do you tell people like that?
If he wants to come and buy it, be my guest. He won't be able to drive it to Arusha.
Okay. The Kenya Airways, very familiar, very synonymous with airline, pilots and ground staff striking. Are there still those issues? Do you still have issues with staff?
Look, we have two very strong unions in Kenya Airways. One is CALPA, which is the pilots' union. One is CAWU, which is the other workers at the airline. It's tough doing business with the unions, as always, and they have been a little bit inflexible, if I may use that term, probably not the most popular word I would use for them. And we need more flexibility, and we're trying our very best to try and find a way, because, worldwide there are 5,000 out-of-work pilots at the moment. That's a big number. It wasn't like it was before. when a pilot could say, look, if you don't do what I want you to do, if you don't give me what I want, I'll go to work for Qatar or Emirates or whatever. That doesn't exist anymore. So I think there should be some more flexibility from the union in our current situation. But the management is engaged with them. I'm not involved in it, so I can stay out of that fray. But it's difficult, very difficult. Yeah.
You speak a lot with the government, with the leadership in this country, Michael. And I'm sure they're all asking you, Michael, which way forward, especially for Kenya Airways? What do you tell them?
I tell them what I've told you. I think there's a way out of it. I think we just need the necessary government support, not all financial, but just support. There is a way out of it. And I think, quite honestly, it's quite embarrassing. I was in a meeting with the government this week again, and I feel a little bit bad and a little bit embarrassed by going back and saying, here's another demand, another request for help from Kenya Airways. I've been doing this job since 2017, and I think there has not been a year when I have not gone to the government with cap in hand saying, please help me. So I'm a bit embarrassed. But there's not much else I can do because we are the national carrier and they are the majority shareholder. So I need to go back to my shareholders. The other shareholders are not going to help me. They've already helped me as much as they can. So it's difficult. And I think letting the government to get it, or not the government, let me be more specific, letting your shareholders, which is the National Treasury, and your line ministry, the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure, understand our issues and help us deal with issues, is also difficult for them because they have many other priorities on their hands that they need to deal with on an ongoing basis. But I think they probably don't like the look of me or don't like to see me every day in their offices, but it's what I have to do.
Yeah.
What I and the management team have to do.
There's a capitalization deal that you're working on with the government. When's that going to be signed? Do we know?
No, which is a capitalization deal?
That's what the talk is, some capitalization.
I don't know what they mean. I'm going to show you.
Okay.
We have in this 28 billion, part of it is coming as a long-term loan to Kenya Airways, and probably the rest will come as a loan. That requires us to sign some documents, but it's not recapitalization as yet. No.
Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night thinking, you know what, KQ might one day be grounded. This airline, this fleet might be grounded. Does it keep you up at night?
I lay awake every night worrying about KQ. Every night. There's not a night that I don't wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning worrying about Kenya Airways. And we have had challenges with the lessors. We've had problems with grounding of aircraft. We have 2 aircraft grounded at the moment. The lessors are... Look, the lessors are in a very difficult situation. It's not just Kenya Airways. They're dealing with every single airline in the world that is wanting to send planes back, don't want to pay their lease costs, something like that. So they have a challenge because they can come and say, we're going to take your aircraft if you don't pay us. So take it. What are you going to do with it? There's thousands of aircraft parked all over around the world, sitting in parked, not being used. So it's not easy for them either. So I must say that the management team, Alan and his team, have negotiated for about 70% of our lessors have renegotiated our leases to change the terms of the lease. And we have something called power by the hour that we pay when we use the plane. And many of the lessors have changed from being just pay on a monthly basis fixed costs, whether you fly or not, to pay when you fly. And we have had some success with them.
It's interesting that there's an expressway being built from the airport, JKIA, and the first stop is the company that you helped make one of the most profitable companies in East Africa, Safaricom. Yeah. First exit will be at General Matenge, and you could turn around and go to Safaricom. 20 plus years later, did you ever think it would be where it is today? Did you ever envision, especially M-Pesa?
Look, no, for sure not. I mean, when I came here in 2000, and if you looked at my business plan that I came with at the time, and I said this before, it was ridiculous. I mean, 500,000 customers in 5 years or something like that. Nobody would have predicted. Even M-Pesa, even though I was instrumental in bringing it to life and launching it in Kenya, I never thought in my wildest dreams it would be so successful. No, I didn't. It's dramatically different from in 21 years to go from nothing to being a $14 billion company with the initial investment, the total initial investment in this company was $55 million in 2000. $33 million went to the CCK, and $20 million came into Safaricom. And it's now worth $15 billion, probably $15 billion today. It's phenomenal. In 21 years. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, yeah.
And of course, you guys literally there at Safaricom, you're not sitting on your laurels. You're not resting on your laurels. There's a country next door where you guys have put in a bid. And we'll talk about, 100 million people in Ethiopia. How is that going?
First, we haven't put in a bid yet. The bid's going next month. So we haven't put a bid in. It looks good. I mean, it's as you say, it's $100 million people. I mean, $100 million country. 100 million people, in the country. A relatively poor country, but a huge opportunity. It's the last big mobile opportunity in the world. Right now it's only one operator. So I think it's a huge opportunity for us. We have to submit our bid. There's 2 licenses available. 4 or 5 companies will be submitting bids. So we have a reasonably good chance. Let's see. We don't know yet. And I'm not predicting.
You're not predicting, but you don't have to be a visionary to know that Ethiopia will be a game changer for the whole market, won't it?
It'll be a game changer for us, and it'll be a game changer for Ethiopia, for sure. Particularly if we can bring M-Pesa there. Particularly if we can take M-Pesa there. It'll be a massive change for them. Right now, it's not on the cards, but we hope it will be soon. But yeah, it'll be a game changer.
Do you see Ethiopia as Kenya 21 years ago? Do you see it somehow, that landscape, that environment?
For sure, absolutely. I mean, Ethiopia is much more advanced than when I came here 21 years ago in terms of infrastructure. I mean, they've got the big roads, they've got the big train lines and things like that. But certainly, I think it's almost on the par where we were 21 years ago in Kenya in terms of telecoms.
Right.
I don't want to talk about the other businesses there. But yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity. And probably will grow a little bit faster than what we grew. If we look at the numbers.
Because of the infrastructure, or because the technology has changed?
Well, the technology has changed. The mobile phone, even today, the mobile phone from 21 years ago is probably 1/10 of the price now, so it's much more affordable and things like that. So I expect there'll be much bigger demand for mobile technology, for mobile phone use and data will be a big thing there. The data is not great now, but we've already, when I started here, we had voice and text, SMS. Data was already there, so I think it'll grow from a growth point of view. It'll be strong.
And Safaricom locally, how much more can it grow?
Well, I think as basically a telecoms provider, as a voice and data provider, I think there's still growth in the market, probably inching towards single-digit growth now. But that's not. There's more growth as a technology company. We have lots of opportunity for growing, more opportunities for growing, because now we're not just a telecoms company, we're a technology company. Yeah. You look at M-Pesa, how M-Pesa has grown just in the last 3 years, massively growth. So financial services, M-agriculture, M-education, M-health, all those opportunities which we're thinking about in the future.
Yeah, and Fuliza as well, don't forget.
Yeah, I won't forget.
Let's go to the magic wall, MJ. It's been a godsend. You can sit.
I can sit here.
Yeah,
okay.
You can sit. Thank you for standing, though. I appreciate that.
Okay, I know. I thought I had to come there and point out the errors there.
He said millions of Kenyans are worried with KQ profit warning. Please ask Michael Joseph, how long will it take for Kenya Airways to make a profit? Well, you did mention that.
Well, prior to COVID,
yeah,
our financial projections said we would probably start making a profit in 2022.
Prior to
COVID. So if you look at COVID, it probably has a 3 to 4 year impact on us. So, I would say add on 3 years from there with possibility.
That's very optimistic of you, Michael.
Yeah.
It's very optimistic. All right. Vincent Awange says, for how long will KQ survive on bailouts?
Look, I don't want bailouts. We do not want bailouts. It's not the right thing. It's not the right thing for the Exchequer to continue to bail us out. We have a plan, as I said, we have a plan in mind not to come back to the Treasury, not come back to the Exchequer for future bailouts after 2021. That's our plan.
Wow. Kamundi says, why exactly does the airline incur so much losses when private airlines aren't making similar losses? A loss is okay, but 30 billion? Oof, it's a little too much.
Well, I'm sorry that all airlines around the world are losing money. And you can just go online to the IATA website, and they have all the figures there. They're all public. Every airline in the world is losing money. There's not an airline out there making profits at the moment.
There you have it. Kenya One Patriot says, how many planes does KQ own 100%? Does KQ hire private ones? And if it does, who dictates the fee? The loss seems to be big percentage, artificial.
So we have ownership of our planes, and we lease them. Mm-hmm. The planes that we own are still financed. And I can't remember the exact figure, but 7 of our Dreamliners, the 787s, we own. And quite a lot of our 737s we own. No, of the Embraers we own, and the others are leased. But still, the ones that we own are financed. We don't hire planes. We don't hire planes from other people to fly. We have a facility where you sometimes, when you, for instance, let me say, flying to Somalia, we charter what we call wet lease, another airline, to fly that route for us because they have the necessary insurance to fly there. Right. But we don't hire airplanes, no.
And the lease happened a long time ago. I mean, it wasn't under your watch, was it? Billy Paul Ngeno, how does Kenya compare with other countries in terms of COVID-19 entry restrictions?
As far as I know, every single country in the world requires you to have a negative COVID test to enter. And some countries require more than that. Sometimes some countries, and Kenya, require, as Kenya, quarantine, that you have to go into either quarantine into a quarantine hotel or quarantine at home. So every country in the world has these kind of restrictions. Some only, like the US, require a negative COVID. So that's all they require, but some countries require more.
The way we used to have the yellow fever card. Oh, they talk
exactly.
about the, right?
Exactly.
Is that the same thing? Is that where we're going with this?
Yes, that's where we're going with this. Yeah, the IATA is pushing for like a vaccination passport, and that's the kind of something like the yellow fever card that we used to carry. Yeah.
All right, Joe Kiash says the government, being the biggest spender, should make it mandatory for all civil servants to only use KQ for local and international official travels. This will demonstrate its willingness to bail out the pride of Africa.
There is such an act.
Is there?
There is such a law. There is such a thing that the government is required to fly on Kenya Airways. Government officials require. It doesn't always happen because what they say is Kenya doesn't fly to the destination where I want to go or the schedule is not convenient. But in the US have called a fly, if they have a facility, we have a Fly Kenya Act which says this, okay. In the US, you as a government official, you cannot fly on any other airline except an American airline. You cannot. There's no excuses like they have here, where schedule may not suit you and things like that.
Even though it's not going to your destination, you have to fly a U.S. airline.
A U.S. airline, yes. I mean, if they're not going to your destination, you can choose. But you can't say the routing is not acceptable or inconvenient or anything like that in the U.S. We would love to have that here.
Well, good point. Kennedy Ojunga says KQ's business is connecting people and businesses from place to place. Rather than ask government for such cash, or rather for cash support, wouldn't it be helpful to manage the demand side by motivating GOK to facilitate more trading, especially exports and imports between Kenya and the rest of the world?
There are policies such as that. There's even a policy which we are using, which is now, which encourages, I think it's for freight, to encourage more freight to be flown on Kenya Airways and to allow us to use that subsidy to offer better freight terms to Kenyan exporters.
Dosa Arthur, which airline in the world does Michael envy in terms of operational profitability? What do they do right that KQ doesn't? Good question.
I don't know if I envy any other airline, but the most profitable airline in the world is Southwest Airlines.
In the U.S.?
In the U.S. It was the most profitable airline consistently, but they are a very different model to Kenya Airways. They are a low-cost carrier, and they flow point to point. and they only have one plane, one size plane, and they fly that. They're consistently profitable. That's probably the best model, but they're a different model to us. They point to point, not point to a hub, flying via a hub, and they're a low-cost carrier, no frills.
Okay, let me just mention a couple. What about the Middle East airlines? How do you think they did pretty well before COVID?
Look, I think the airlines, all of them are doing well. All of them are fantastic. If you fly, I'm sure you've flown on them. I've flown on them.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. Their service is extraordinary. Some of the service is extraordinary that you fly on them. Some of them not so great. But I think all of the airlines do a pretty good job. I haven't been on a very poor airline for a long, long time. But I think everybody's cutting their cloth now, for sure.
Michael, what was the magic with Turkish Airlines? I mean, they literally came out of nowhere. Or were they always there, and then suddenly they started marketing?
Yeah, they were always there, but then suddenly they had huge government support to fly. They are one of the They have the biggest African network. They fly to more points in Africa than any other airline, surprisingly, from Istanbul. Well, they did, put it that way, they did.
Yeah.
I think it's just purely a motivation. Look at Ethiopian. I admire Ethiopian, the business model, but they decided to do something backed by their government to make Ethiopian Airlines the airline for Africa. And it's very well managed, very well run, good aircraft, and I think they're a role model for us, in a way.
Yeah.
But their cost structure is much lower than ours. There's no... Well, let's say, I've already said all these words already. They have a low-cost structure.
It's very good of you to say, at least you admire them in a way. Yeah. Jane Alice is asking, what measures are in place to build customer confidence with KQ? You said the numbers are down. So it's going to take a while to build that confidence. What's it going to take?
That's a very good question, actually. I'm glad they asked, because Alan particularly wanted me to bring this out. So in this intervening time when we're going through this crisis, we are revamping our customer service. Because when COVID hit, we had many thousands of questions about flights, refunds, etc., and we didn't do well. We didn't do a good job. So Alan has taken as a priority to improve our customer service across the board, including a new website, a new app, new customer service response times, and overall we've reduced staff through voluntary retrenchments, voluntary redundancies, etc. So I think all the remaining staff now know that their survival as jobs depending on offering not just flying, but also offering a good service while we're flying. And in fact, I've heard many compliments about our services in the recent times, which normally I get all the terrible emails, complaints. I haven't. It's a long time since I've had a complaint. Not that you want to send me complaints now, okay? Yeah.
But at least for once they're complimenting.
No, so we are working on this. We are taking advantage of this opportunity to improve our the customer journey with us, if I can use those terms, Safaricom term with airlines.
I love it. It's just overlapping. Yeah. Bottom line, Michael, you remain an eternal optimist, don't you?
Yes, of course, yes. I mean, you have to be in this business, in this world. You have to be an eternal optimist. I mean, you even look at Safaricom. When I came here in 2020, a business plan that didn't say anything, no money. If our customers will remember, we struggled a lot in the early days. I was eternally optimistic that we would come out on top. And I think if you're doing the right things, barring things like a pandemic, I think we will come out on top. We will never be extraordinarily successful and extraordinary profit. That's not in the airline business, and not in the airline profits. You're not synonymous with profit in the airline business. But I'm pretty sure that with the right moves, we will come out on top.
If you had joined Kenya Airways back in 2000 when you started Safaricom, when you were at the forefront of Safaricom, would you have still been there?
That's a difficult question to answer. It was at one point when Titus Naikuni was the CEO of KQ, when we were thinking it would be nice to swap jobs, because I've always been fascinated by airlines, but I don't know if I would have survived. No, I'm not sure I would have. I'm not sure. It's tough. It's a tough job. Yeah, it's not easy, and you get a lot of flack. I don't look at Twitter, by the way, because I know it will be extremely negative. extremely negative.
Yeah. So you just ignore it. You just keep walking and hope for the best. Is that it?
No, I don't just hope for the best. Of course, I work towards the best. I mean, you don't just hope for the best. But I think if you look at Twitter and things like social media in trying to measure your performance and just even in your results, I think you'll get very easily disheartened because it's easy to criticize from the side. And claim all sorts of things. Even yesterday, someone sent me a Twitter which I didn't want to receive about me being, not such a person with integrity when I was running Safaricom, being missed at 10%. They said, I mean, this is such an insulting thing to say. When they look at me as an employee, still a normal salaried person, missed at 10%. It's insulting. I mean, you can't, it's hard to continue to do what you do when you have this negative criticism on you, completely without justification, with no, it's difficult, but we keep going.
And they do it because they can. They can hide under a synonym. They can hide under some name, and they do it.
Yeah, I'm sure you get it a lot.
All the time, Michael, all the time. But I'm impressed that you just literally you're like a duck in water. You let it just slide off.
Well, I don't read it. I mean, someone sends me things, but I don't read it because I know it'll be disheartening and what doesn't give me any value. If a customer is really upset with me, they will write to me. They know my email address. They know my phone number. So I don't. Otherwise, I think it's hard. Alan, the CEO, he reads it. I told him last night, don't read it. But that's the nature of things.
Michael, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing?
Oh, I don't know. I'm doing other things other than what I'm doing now, but I'll come and tell you about that one day.
Oh, really?
I'm with another new exciting project which I'm working on now, which is to do with pay-as-you-go LPG.
Oh, liquid petroleum gas.
Yeah, with cooking gas. Yeah. Pay-as-you-go.
Wow.
It's quite an interesting project, but I won't talk about that now.
You never tire, Michael. You never tire, huh?
No, not yet. Not yet. I mean, I don't know what I would do if I stopped. I'm sure that my wife would kick me out for sure.
Let's hope Jean doesn't do that. All right, let me ask it in a different way. What keeps you going?
I'm driven to be successful, believe it or not. And I believe if I don't know. I just think it's my duty to do it, and that's what keeps me going. It's not easy. I mean, I told you a few years ago it's not easy. It's still not easy now. It's even more difficult because you live in a hotel room and you don't sleep well and things like that. But no, it needs to be done. And I'm not as you know, I get criticized a lot, my management style. I'm not the most polite, diplomatic person, particularly as chairman. And I get criticized a lot for that, but it's what is needed. What I believe what is needed at the moment.
And it works.
Well, let's see. Kenya Airways, case in point, let's see.
We're going to change that headline, we promise, okay? Broken wings.
Yeah, we can't have that. Yeah. No, I don't think it's right. That's not patriotic.
You are more patriotic than a lot of Kenyans I know, Michael. Well done.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, huh? Safe travels. Keep safe. When are you getting your next jab?
I don't know. When I'm called. I don't know. When I get home, I hope. I go home. Yeah.
Nice one.
Okay.
MJ, Michael Joseph, folks. This man, I tell you, I don't know where he gets the strength to run two companies. As chairman, I tell you, he's not giving up. In fact, he's looking for more frontiers. Watch this space. This man, I tell you, I wish we just had maybe, 3 or 4 Michaels? Are there clones of you somewhere? Just 3 or 4?
I don't know. I don't think the world wants more of me.
Remember, Jeff Koinange Live is powered by Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker exhibiting its eminence in electrifying quality, celebrating 200 years of blended Scotch excellence. Do you like a nice drink now and then, Michael? Do you have?
Yeah, I do, but I'm not a Scotch drinker.
Okay. All right. We'll have it for you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Good to see you, Michael.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for your time. And good luck with, wearing both hats. And when the Ethiopia thing comes through, if you win that one, hey, man, lots to talk about.
That'll be lots to talk
about. It'll be huge.
Yeah, that'll be huge. Yeah, very big. Yeah.
Thanks so much for being a part of the show, folks. Remember, if it's Wednesday, it's all about those three letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. And today we just happen to have MJ on JKL. Wow, what a treat. Thanks so much for being with us. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JK Live. Good night, good luck. God bless you all.